The evening began like any other for Ryan Harper. He was sitting at the kitchen table, sorting through the day's mail while his wife, Megan, prepared dinner. The hum of the television in the background provided a comforting rhythm, one that Ryan had grown accustomed to in their quiet suburban life. Bills, advertisements, a letter from Megan's alma mater. Ryan sifted through each envelope until one caught his attention. It was marked from the Department of Motor Vehicles. Curious, he opened it. Inside was a citation for speeding, complete with a fine and a grainy black and white photo taken from a dashcam. The image made his brow furrow. The car in the photo was undeniably Megan's, a silver SUV they had purchased 2 years ago. But it wasn't the car that unsettled him. It was the occupants. Megan was clearly visible behind the wheel, but there was a figure in the passenger seat. A man, his features blurred but unmistakably present. Ryan stared at the photo, his chest tightening. "Megan," he called, his voice steady but sharp. She turned from the stove, wiping her hands on a towel. "What's up?" He held up the letter. "You got a speeding ticket. Who's this in the car with you?" Megan walked over, her eyes scanning the photo. For a moment, her expression was unreadable, and then she laughed nervously. "Oh, that's no one," she said quickly. "It's just a shadow." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "A shadow?" "Megan, there's clearly someone sitting there." She waved her hand dismissively. "It's probably just something on the dashboard reflecting. You know how these cameras distort things." But Ryan wasn't convinced. Her voice was too hurried, her demeanor too defensive. He decided to drop the subject for the moment, but tucked the photo into his pocket. Ryan couldn't shake the image from his mind. Over the next few days, he became increasingly suspicious of Megan's behavior. She had always been cheerful and open, but now she seemed guarded, her laughter forced and her conversation strained. One evening, while Megan was in the shower, Ryan decided to do something he had never done before. Check her phone. He felt a pang of guilt as he unlocked it, but his unease outweighed his conscience. The messages on her phone were mostly innocent, chats with friends, reminders, and work emails. But one thread stood out, a contact saved only as J. The conversation was casual at first glance, but certain messages caught Ryan's eye. "Jay, last night was amazing. I can't stop thinking about you." "Megan, me too. I wish we could have more time together." Ryan's chest tightened as he scrolled further, piecing together the context. Jay wasn't a colleague or a friend. He was Megan's lover. That night, Ryan couldn't hold back any longer. "Who's Jay?" he asked as they sat down to dinner. Megan froze, her fork hovering in midair. "What are you talking about?" "I checked your phone," Ryan admitted, his voice cold, "and I saw the messages. So, I'll ask again, who is Jay?" Megan's eyes filled with panic. "Ryan, it's not what you think." "Then tell me what it is," Ryan snapped. Tears spilled down her cheeks as Megan finally broke. "It's Jason," she admitted. "We met at a conference last year. It wasn't supposed to happen, but I fell for him." Ryan felt like the air had been sucked from the room. "So, the man in the photo, the one you called a shadow, that was him?" Megan nodded, sobbing. "I'm so sorry, Ryan. It's over. It didn't mean anything." "Didn't mean anything?" Ryan's voice rose, his anger boiling over. "You lied to me, Megan. You lied about everything. Planning revenge." Ryan spent the next few days in a fog of anger and betrayal. Megan's apologies felt hollow, her pleas for forgiveness meaningless. He couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and couldn't stop replaying her words in his mind. He decided that Megan had to pay, not just for the affair but for the lies and the destruction of their marriage. Ryan began his revenge with careful precision. He hired a private investigator to dig into Jason's life, gathering everything he could about the man who had intruded into his home. The investigator was thorough. Within days, Ryan had a folder filled with photos, financial records, and personal details about Jason. He learned that Jason was married with children, and his wife had no idea about the affair. Ryan's first move was to expose Jason. He compiled the evidence and sent it anonymously to Jason's wife, along with a note that read, "Your husband isn't who you think he is. Ask him about Megan Harper." The fallout was immediate. Jason's wife confronted him, and their marriage quickly unraveled. Jason, now embroiled in his own domestic disaster, tried to contact Megan, but she ignored his calls. Ryan wasn't done. Jason's life crumbled under the weight of Ryan's carefully orchestrated revenge. His wife, shattered by the revelation, filed for divorce and took their children to stay with her parents. His colleagues at work whispered about the scandal, and he found himself ostracized both at home and in his professional life. Meanwhile, Megan felt the fallout in her own world. Though she wasn't directly implicated in Ryan's exposure of Jason, the tension at home was unbearable. Ryan barely spoke to her, and when he did, his words were laced with bitterness and scorn. Ryan wasn't satisfied with the private unraveling of Jason's life. He wanted Megan to feel the humiliation she had brought upon him. At a neighborhood barbecue, Ryan decided to let the truth spill out. The gathering was lively, with families chatting and kids playing on the lawn. Megan, who had reluctantly attended, stood by the grill, trying to blend in. Ryan raised his beer, tapping it against a glass to get everyone's attention. "Hey, everyone," he said, his voice loud and clear. "I just wanted to thank you all for being such great neighbors over the years. It's been a tough time for Megan and me lately, especially after I found out she's been sleeping with someone else." The crowd fell silent, shocked by the sudden announcement. Megan's face turned pale, her eyes wide with disbelief. "Ryan, stop," she hissed, grabbing his arm. But he shook her off and continued. "I figured you all should know the truth. You deserve better than lies and shadows, right, Megan?" Megan fled the scene, tears streaming down her face. The whispers began almost immediately, the neighbors exchanging stunned glances and murmurs. The public humiliation left Megan isolated and desperate. Her friends distanced themselves, unwilling to get involved in the drama. Even her family expressed disappointment in her choices. "You broke your vows, Megan," her mother said during a tense phone call. "How could you do that to Ryan? To Lily?" Megan sobbed into the receiver. "I don't know, Mom. I don't know what's wrong with me." She tried to repair her relationship with Ryan, begging for forgiveness and promising to change. "I'll do anything, Ryan," she said one night, her voice trembling. "Please, just tell me how to fix this." Ryan stared at her coldly. "You can't fix this. It's already broken." The tension at home took its toll on Lily, their 13-year-old daughter. She began withdrawing from her parents, spending more time in her room and avoiding family meals. One evening, Ryan found her crying quietly in her bed. "Lily, what's wrong?" he asked gently. "I hate this," she said through her tears. "I hate how everyone's fighting. Why can't things go back to the way they were?" Ryan's chest tightened. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I wish I could make it better." But deep down, he knew there was no going back. Ryan's revenge didn't stop with Jason's exposure. He began dismantling Megan's life piece by piece. He contacted Megan's workplace anonymously, hinting at her infidelity and how it might reflect poorly on the company. Though Megan's boss didn't fire her outright, the damage to her reputation was enough to stall her career advancement. Megan's once comfortable life became a daily struggle. The financial strain of Ryan's cold detachment, coupled with her mounting isolation, pushed her to the brink. Megan's life had become a waking nightmare. What began as an affair born out of fleeting excitement had spiraled into a catastrophe that destroyed her marriage, her reputation, and her sense of self. She spent her days walking on eggshells around Ryan, whose anger simmered just beneath the surface. Ryan, meanwhile, found little satisfaction in his revenge. Though he had exposed Jason, humiliated Megan, and taken control of their household, a gnawing emptiness had begun to creep into his heart. Megan's friendships, once a source of comfort, dissolved in the wake of Ryan's public revelation. Neighbors avoided her at the grocery store, and former friends stopped returning her calls. She spent hours alone in their once bustling home, the silence a constant reminder of her fractured life. One evening, Megan sat on the edge of their bed, staring at the family photo on the nightstand. In the photo, she and Ryan were smiling, with Lily sandwiched between them, her cheeks flushed from laughter. It felt like a lifetime ago. Tears streamed down Megan's face as she whispered to herself, "How did I let it get this bad?" Ryan's pursuit of revenge, while initially satisfying, began to take a toll on his own mental health. He found himself irritable and withdrawn, his once sharp focus at work replaced by a sense of malaise. One evening, as he sat in the kitchen reviewing old photos, Lily walked in. "Dad," she said softly, "are you okay?" Ryan forced a smile. "Yeah, I'm fine, sweetheart. Just tired." Lily frowned. "You and Mom aren't fine, are you?" Ryan sighed, setting the photo down. "No, Lily, we're not." "Are you going to get a divorce?" she asked hesitantly. The question hit Ryan like a punch to the gut. He had avoided the topic, hoping that his anger would subside enough to decide what came next. But now, faced with Lily's innocent question, he realized how much damage had already been done. One evening, Megan approached Ryan with trembling hands. "Ryan, can we talk?" He looked up from his laptop, his expression guarded. "What is it?" "I can't live like this anymore," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The silence, the anger, the tension, it's killing me. I know I hurt you, and I'll never forgive myself for it. But I can't keep pretending like we're going to fix this." Ryan's jaw tightened. "You think this is hard for you? Imagine how it feels to be me, to be lied to be betrayed." "I know," Megan said, tears streaming down her face. "I know I deserve your anger, but what about Lily? She's the one who's suffering the most." Ryan stood, his fists clenched. "You should have thought about that before you ruined everything." Megan sobbed, retreating to their bedroom and slamming the door. The growing tension in the house weighed heavily on Lily. She avoided her parents whenever possible, spending more time with friends and burying herself in schoolwork. But the cracks in her composure began to show. Her teachers noticed a decline in her performance, and she became quieter during class discussions. At a parent-teacher conference, her English teacher expressed concern to Ryan and Megan. "She's a bright girl," the teacher said, "but something seems to be weighing on her. Is everything okay at home?" Megan looked down, unable to answer. Ryan nodded curtly. "We're working on it." After months of silence and hostility, Ryan and Megan came to an unspoken agreement. Their marriage was beyond repair. One evening, Ryan handed Megan a folder containing divorce papers. "I think this is the best thing for everyone," he said quietly. Megan stared at the papers, her hands trembling. "Do you really think so?" Ryan nodded. "We're not doing Lily any favors by staying together like this." Megan signed the papers with tears in her eyes, knowing it was the end of the life they had built together. A life in ruins. The divorce of Ryan and Megan Harper was finalized 6 months after Ryan handed Megan the papers. It wasn't contentious. There was no fight over assets or custody, but it left both of them emotionally hollow. Their once beautiful home was sold, its rooms stripped of the laughter and memories that had once filled them. Lily, now splitting her time between her parents, tried to adjust, but the emotional scars of their conflict ran deep. Ryan moved into a modest apartment closer to his office. The space was neat and sterile, lacking the warmth of the home he had shared with Megan and Lily. Though he threw himself into his work, the anger and resentment that had driven him for so long began to fade, replaced by a deep sense of emptiness. Marcus, his best friend, stopped by one evening with takeout and beer. "How's the single life treating you?" Marcus asked, trying to inject some levity into the conversation. Ryan gave a weak laugh. "It's quiet. Too quiet." "You got what you wanted, though," Marcus said carefully. Ryan's smile faltered. "Did I? I ruined her life, sure. But look at mine. It's not exactly a success story either." Marcus nodded, his expression somber. "Maybe it's time you start focusing on yourself. Let go of the past." Ryan didn't respond, but the thought lingered. For Megan, life after the divorce was a constant struggle. She moved into a small apartment on the edge of town, taking on a part-time job at a bookstore to make ends meet. Her once close relationship with Lily was fractured, their interactions stilted and awkward. One evening, as Megan was unpacking a box of old family photos, she found a picture of the three of them at the beach. Lily was just a child, building sandcastles while Ryan and Megan laughed in the background. Megan clutched the photo to her chest, tears streaming down her face. She had thrown away the life she had always wanted for a fleeting fantasy, and now she was left with nothing but regret. Lily, now a high school senior, carried the weight of her parents' choices on her shoulders. She excelled academically but avoided social situations, afraid of getting too close to anyone. One night, during a rare family dinner at Ryan's apartment, Lily voiced her feelings. "I don't know how to trust anyone anymore," she said quietly, pushing her food around her plate. Ryan frowned. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" "Everything fell apart so fast," Lily said, her voice trembling. "How am I supposed to believe that anything lasts?" Ryan's heart ached. "I'm sorry, Lily. I know we've made mistakes, but that doesn't mean you can't find happiness." Lily shrugged, unconvinced. A year after the divorce, Ryan ran into Megan unexpectedly at a local grocery store. She looked tired, her once bright eyes dulled by the weight of the past year. "Megan," Ryan said, his tone neutral. "Ryan," she replied, offering a faint smile. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Megan broke the silence. "How's Lily?" "She's doing well," Ryan said. "She got into her top-choice college." Megan's eyes lit up briefly. "That's wonderful. She's always been so smart." Ryan hesitated. How are you doing?" Megan sighed. "Getting by. It's not easy, but I'm trying." Ryan nodded, feeling a flicker of empathy for the woman he had once loved. "Take care, Megan." "You too, Ryan," she said before walking away. Years later, Lily graduated from college and began a successful career, but the scars of her childhood lingered. She maintained a polite but distant relationship with her parents, unable to fully reconcile with the choices they had made. At her wedding, Lily invited both Ryan and Megan, but seated them at separate tables. The once happy couple exchanged brief pleasantries, their interactions marked by the unspoken acknowledgement of their shared failures. Ryan retired early, moving to a quiet cabin in the woods. He spent his days fishing, reading, and reflecting on the life he had lost. Though he occasionally spoke with Lily, their conversations were brief and superficial. Megan, now living alone in a small apartment, found solace in volunteering at a local animal shelter. The work gave her a sense of purpose, but she remained haunted by the choices that had destroyed her family. One evening, as Megan flipped through an old journal, she wrote, "I had it all, and I let it slip through my fingers. Some mistakes can't be undone, no matter how much you wish they could. Ruin lives." In the end, Ryan and Megan were left with fragments of the lives they had once shared. Their love, trust, and happiness had been replaced by regret, isolation, and the lingering pain of betrayal. For Lily, the shadow of her parents' choices shaped her own life, serving as both a cautionary tale and a reminder of the resilience needed to move forward. Though the Harpers had once been a picture of unity, their lives were now irrevocably fractured, a testament to the devastating consequences of infidelity, revenge, and the inability to forgive. Thank you for listening to the story to the end. Please like, share your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel.